No, I think we just have to lean into it.
Cool. People drink things on podcasts all the
People
time.
drink things all the time, but people have better microphones than we do.
That's true.
Alrighty, I guess we should start. Welcome back to Artist Crush with Lee Harrison Daniel. That's me. And this is the podcast where I interview other emerging artists, theater and otherwise, about their lives and careers and thoughts and feelings. And I am super stoked for today's guest. You know him, you love him. It's First Kiss Theater's resident cis man, Max Berry. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
How's it going?
Good. I feel like I can't even say a little tired at this point, because since that's my regular response, I think I have to just be like, yeah, doing good. It was rainy and gross today, so glad to be in a nice, warm, dry space.
Yeah,
now.
We're sort of taking the pod on the road today. I'm at Max's apartment, and there's a lot of Spider-Man merchandise, in that you are wearing a Spider-Man shirt, and you just showed me a Spider-Man poster that you have.
Oh,
Would
yes.
you say...
Oh,
Would
sorry.
you say that that's sort of a creative influence for you right now?
Spider-Man?
Yeah.
I think, well, this shirt specifically, if we're going to loop a bunch of different things in, my dad does this thing where he'll just buy a shirt or like a cool like graphic tee or something, and I'll be like, that's cool, and then it shrinks in the wash and he just gives it to me. So this was my dad's shirt that then was given to me. So he buys a lot of Spider-Man things. Or was this? Yeah, no, this was. But I think he bought this for us going to go see a Spider-Man movie together, because we go and we wear shirts. So not as much of a creative inspiration in that, like, the story of Spider-Man is like, oh, I'm doing this. But in that, my dad, who is one of my kind of like creative inspirations, gifted this to me, who then I can now like be, like, I can think of him as I'm like writing, and I go, oh, I'm wearing the shirt from my dad. Oh, okay, cool. Then my dad would make this funny joke right here, and I would do that. But I guess, but actually thinking about it more, if there is like if I did have to say, like, pick a superhero that was like influential for, I don't know why, that'd be
I didn't ask you to do that, but feel free.
I know. Free. Well, it's I'm looping it around. You
okay,
know how,
loop around.
Yeah,
loop around.
Let me take the scenic route a little bit. But like, in terms of like a creative inspiration, if I had to be like, this one is the creative inspiration, it would probably be Spider-Man, because I don't know. I think those kind of stories are more interesting when people are like teenagers and everything else is there's so much transition in everything else, and then you throw in this other big thing. So
he's sort of a scrappy young lad like yourself.
Yeah, sure.
Well, gosh, I didn't think we'd be drinking like this early on the podcast. This is only episode 2.
Yeah.
But we've got some nice little blood orange ciders that kind of taste like if a mimosa had like sawdust in it.
Well, you said it was musty, and then I
called it musty.
And I said it was a mimosa, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to let the world know that I said that.
We went to college together.
We did.
This is true. For you only went for 3 whole years, but you did graduate in those 3 whole years.
I did, yes. Feels like 2.5, just with everything going on.
And I met you as a playwright, but also a musical theater major.
Yes.
And I feel like the times have changed.
Yeah. That it was a very interesting kind of, I guess, first 2 years. As I kind of like, because I feel like you go into theater when you live, because I grew up in a small town in Ohio, not a lot of theater, so there are very specific avenues with which you can experience theater as like a kid. actor, like crew member. I guess like sometimes in some like other designer roles or like a or like a dancer kind of thing. So but like performer and designer / like crew, I feel like are the two main avenues in like a small town in the Midwest that you get introduced to theater. And if you're lucky, you'll get some really good programs that kind of veer off and do some other things too.
I would say to a degree, even crew is lucky for kids.
Yeah. I mean, I got lucky and I was able to be like a stage management apprentice at Weather Vane Playhouse for like a few years, which was really fun. That was the only apprenticeship that was in the rehearsal room the whole time, so that was really cool to be able to kind of be hanging out in there, and I learned through that I never want to be a stage manager. So much respect for what they do, but it would stress me out so much. But yeah, so I went in kind of being like, I wanted to perform my whole life. I'm gonna go and that's what I'm gonna do, but I'm also gonna write because that's a thing that I enjoy, but it's not gonna be my main thing. And I actually picked Marymount because it was letting me do writing as well. So like
me too.
the like the signs were all there and kind of screaming at me, and it just, you know how those things kind of work. It just took until the right moment for me to go, oh, okay, wait, no, this is what I want to do. And I haven't really looked back since. My sophomore year, I had a existential crisis in a tap class where it went from me going, because I was never a good tapper. I was always like a ballet dancer and jazz dancer primarily. And it went from what my initial attitude was of, okay, well, I'll just keep working at this and then I'll get better at tap, to one day I just, in my brain, was just like, oh, this is hard. Well, that's okay, because I'm never going to use this anyway. And like that moment, I was just like, oh, fuck. Like,
that's a crazy thing to realize about something that you're paying, like, you know, however many thousands of dollars a year to study.
Yeah, well, I was all, like, that to me wasn't as much of a thought, just because I was already kind of taking out, like, I was going to be in some sort of debt regardless.
Yeah.
Didn't come from not from a family that was able to be like, oh, we're going to let us just pay your college here. But I'm very grateful that I do come from a family where my parents were very much like, they could have very easily have just said, hey, why don't you go to like Ohio State or something, and you could still kind of...
the Ohio State?
Oh, yeah, sorry. No one come at me. All my, like, my entire high school that went to Ohio State University, don't come at me. But that was still a rough... I think that was the... And going off of that realization and the, like... I think I called my parents, like, within minutes of leaving that dance class to be like, I think I'm gonna do this. And I don't know. I was like, I just need you to tell me that it's not a bad choice. And they were immediately like, no, you're good. Like... we feel like this is the right call.
Do you feel... I'm saying this because I feel this. Do you feel like pressure because of like the ways that your family has made this sort of career path possible for you? Like, not necessarily like pressure coming from them, but like I constantly am thinking about like, oh shit, like other people have put like time and resources into this for me. I better like be good at what I do.
I wouldn't say I feel pressure, because I think...
Lucky.
Well, it's just in the way that they've just communicated, been made very clear that like, I am not the one to think about the money that they put in. Like, an example of this kind of sort of is my dad designs a lot of my logos for a lot of my plays. My dad is a graphic designer. Anyone needs a graphic designer? My dad's amazing.
Kevin Barry, hit him up.
Yes. And because sometimes I will be like, hi Dad, I need this today. Here's this very specific thing and I know you have a full-time job. Can you do this today? and he'll be like, yeah, let me see what I can do. And I've offered to like Venmo him some money for it because it's what he does. And he's always like, nope. And I've never tried to send it to him, but I'm confident that if I Venmo'd him money, he would send it right back.
Yeah.
So it's not as much of like, because of a pressure in the, oh, I better be good, because I don't know, I'm just not worried about that. I think for me, it is more of it's a gratitude and like I want to give back and show them that what they did was worth it. Not in a, oh no, was it worth it? Just in a, I can't wait. Like when I think about, everyone has those like images of like what they're going to say when they get like this X award. Yeah. I think about, I don't know if I've told them this actually, so this will be cool for them to discover on this podcast. I think about not really as much of the speech as when I walk off stage. And the three of them, my parents and my sister, are the first people that I see, and we get to kind of celebrate that together. Yeah. Or like the this is so silly, but like the cut from my speech to them in the audience kind of thing. Like those are the moments I think about more. And I have a running list of people, most of them family, who if I ever were to find myself in a position where I have large sums of money, who will be getting checks no matter what, and they can't say anything about it, they will be getting checks. And of course my parents are on that list. So yeah, I wouldn't say a pressure as much as just kind of like a, oh man, I can't wait for whatever I want. And they're going to say, you don't need that moment, do it for yourself. But like, it's a, oh man, I want that moment of like just being able to say, hey you guys, bet on the right horse kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
I did it.
I want to circle back to the Midwest, being that we're both from there. We're from sort of rival states, Ohio and Michigan, which is kind of a colder, slightly less farmlandy Ohio with like more water around it. Mm-hmm. And I also want to circle back to your dad, who I feel like we've talked a lot about already in this episode.
I don't know if my dad is aware of how much of just like a character, like a mystical character he is in my friend group of just these random stories about him. I don't know if he knows that everyone knows about my dad, even if they haven't met him.
He knows now.
Yeah.
We all follow him on Instagram.
Yeah.
You should too. I'm not gonna, maybe I'll tag your dad. I don't know if he wants that.
If he wants that.
I'll ask him beforehand. Well, a mystical character in your friend group, and also like perhaps somewhat of a literal character in your work as a playwright.
Yeah. I should preface this too, because I feel like I need to say this, because both parents serve very specific and important roles in kind of my artistic journey. And I think it's just, I think my mother has a lot of the practical sides of how I work and kind of the planning. Like I call her when I'm like, I don't know what to do, what's going on. But the reason that I think my dad comes out in the work as much as he does is because my dad was I grew up just seeing him create. And I think also that I think only recently have I started to realize that, oh, you aren't like obligated to do the thing that you're good at as like your career. But like when I was a kid growing up, I was like, I saw that my dad drew and that he wanted to draw at one point. He'd like had been working on, like he's had like a comic book character that he then kind of started messing around with, maybe writing a book about, and like all these things. And so I think that I grew up seeing him be creative, and I kind of also maybe a little bit am like, oh man, I wish my dad would have been got to do those things. So, but like, I'll do these things. Like, I'll go do these things. Because he passed down these gifts and now I have these things. But that was a pivot just because I wanted to say, I love you, Mom. I'm gonna talk about Dad for a little bit, but I love you so much. Yes, but so my dad is a version of my dad exists in my play, Songs My Dad Sings Loudly in the Car, which is about a father and son, Ted and Mark, driving home from the hospital, visiting their father/grandfather, who is sick with cancer, and kind of just how they grappling with them grieving in very different ways, and like how that can be hard to like kind of come together in a situation like that when the ways that you grieve are different, among a bunch of other things, and just kind of like growing up in transition and yeah, he kind of the character is based off of him, but it kind of veers off in its own way, which I feel like I don't know, unless you're writing explicitly about explicit true events and you're not going to veer at all and your job is to like completely recreate it, I feel like it's kind of the writer's obligation to not hold the character to what the real person was, and to when they need to veer off, let them veer off and let them become who they want to be. Because Ted is not my dad. I think Ted handles things and handles grief in a way that my dad handled much better. Like Ted kind of like is like a little bit more deceptive and like lies to his son, all out of like weirdly out of love, and it makes sense when you read the play, but and I have to like tell my dad, because he's like, I'm so excited, I don't want to read it, I just want to see it. And like, I have to remind my dad every time.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey Dad, this person, it's not you.
Yeah, this is not you, this is not how I perceive you.
Right. And I think it's also good whenever, if I have other people if I base people off of, characters off of people in my life, and then also have myself in there, I bring myself down to that level too. I give the character of myself things to be shitty or complicated, or like sometimes even when I'm like dealing with, depending on who I'm dealing with and the situation, I'm like, okay, I need to make myself completely the bad guy to even feel not guilty about kind of doing some of these things with this.
Yeah.
Which then it's fun to learn different things about yourself through that. I'm trailing off from your initial question, I'm realizing, but I hope all this is helpful.
Yeah.
But, which that similar, like making myself the bad guy was kind of how, in my web series, when I was like, I'm gonna be in it, and I'm gonna be a main character in it.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, the only way I can feel bad, not self-inserting myself as this main character, and like not feel bad, is if I make myself an asshole.
And he is.
And he became an asshole.
Max in Hey Professor web series.
All 6 episodes on YouTube.
All 6 episodes on YouTube, which I do want to also talk to you about.
Yeah, I kind of had like little branches of tangents, but can pull it back.
My rule when I base a character off of someone is generally just like, well, that person can never read or see this play.
But like, I think as I'm starting to like, because Songs My Dad Sings Loudly in the Car is my first play. I'd written like a bunch of plays before that, and I think this is the first one where I'm like, this is me as a writer. This is the template, maybe not in form or in content, but in like what I'm sure that was great over the mic, but like in soul spitting and in just like love. This is the template. And so that's the one I'm going to be like sending places. And so I feel like I'm at a point where I could probably get away with that, with this person will never see it, in college when I was writing a bunch of different things. But like, I want this play to be seen by people. So eventually, and if my dad wants, both parents who want to be very involved in my career, in terms of supporting and viewing things, are gonna see it. And so it's like one of those things where, I kind of have to either prep them or just like be mindful of how I craft these characters, and I'm also more mindful, I think, of how and what stories I'm telling, and from like if I do take from real life, like what perspectives I'm able to take, and like what things I should leave out, and like how I should change things, and like when to make it very clear these are different people. And so, and then I think in a rehearsal room, only mentioning, I think I would like probably try to like only mention real life things when it's when it's relevant for context, and then just let them kind of grow into their own thing. But yeah, I definitely get that kind of instinct too, to be like, nope, sorry, you just can't read it.
Yeah. Do you ever think about that while things are happening to you?
That like, oh, this be a play?
Like, this might be a play one day?
Not that much anymore, because I'm kind of over writing things about things in the moment.
Not even, like, not necessarily, like, an event so much. I think I mean, like, sometimes I will, like, experience an emotion, and I'll be like, I need to hold on to this and remember what this feels like so that I can
I guess
channel it.
Maybe. I don't know. I think there are points and things that I experience where I'm like, I could see myself reflecting back on this in 5 years and maybe writing something from it. But I don't think I can know. I think it's hard for me to see the magnitude of events, which sounds so like artsy and gross, but like just like which events are gonna be big and influential to my life and which ones aren't. And I think when I try to do that, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Because like one of the reasons why I've been wanting to write something about my so Songs My Dad Sings Loud in the Car, while also Ted is based off of my dad, it's also based off of my grandfather, who, and a kind of a dedication to my grandfather, who actually passed away of cancer when I was 18, like my first semester of college. And I wanted to write about that, like probably since it happened. Like I was thinking, like, I don't know, and it just never felt right. And then everything finally, from very really random places, kind of clicked into place, and I had the angle that I wanted to write about, and that took like 3 years.
Yeah.
And like the event kind of that I think about with that is, I just wrote when I was like 16. I wrote like a writing prompt on some website. I wrote like a 1-sentence story, and my grandpa said, "Max, you're a really good actor, but I don't know. I think you're gonna be a writer," was the thing he said. And I like immediately shut that down. I was like, no, what? You're telling me I'm gonna be something different than what I think I'm gonna be right now at 16? Of course I'm just gonna be an actor. And he was my dad had said that too, and kind of echoed that sentiment, but like, I remember he was the first person to say, because looking back on it, I had been writing and making stories longer than I had been an actor. But at the time, writing felt like my second thing. Mm-hmm. And he was the first person to say, hey, no, you're going to be a writer.
Whoa.
And so now I can think back on that and be like, whoa. So like, I think if I had tried to write... And even, I think even in when it happened, and then like later, like, cause when he passed away, I could still see that, I could still think about that, but like, it wasn't for another 2 years to where I stopped being in the musical theater program. So then it took that for me to realize, oh wait, he's right.
Yeah.
And that kind of fueled writing this play. So I had to like wait for this new bit to even begin conceiving of this play, and he died before I dropped out of the musical theater program, so he never got to see that he was right.
Yeah. And
I think that kind of fueled that script, and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I had been like, I'm gonna write my first idea. About that. Did that answer your question? I don't remember the initial question.
I don't remember either. We're a little bit over time here, so I think this might just be a 2-parter. We're gonna roll right into a second episode.
Oh, goodness. All right. Sorry, guys. I talk a lot.
Tune in next time. or a few times from now, we'll see with this release schedule, to hear about Max's web series, some upcoming projects, and find out who Max Berry's artist crush is. We'll see you next time.
Hi, Dad. Thank you for
the shout out.
Putting up with this.
This episode has been brought to you by Max Berry's dad.
I mean, in a way.
Welcome back to Artist Crush with Lee Harris and Daniel. That's me, and this is the podcast where I interview my fellow emerging artists, theater and otherwise, about their lives and careers and what they're up to in these crazy, crazy times. And I am joined once again by my dear friend, Max Berry, for a little two-parter. Max, long time no see.
Yeah, I know. Wow.
We definitely haven't just been sitting at the same table this whole time since
Not
the
at
last
all.
episode that aired. How's it going?
Good.
How's things? How have you been the last
Couple seconds?
couple seconds between
Good.
episodes?
Good. Yeah, been, stool's still relatively comfortable. Still
Yeah.
drinking the blood orange cider.
Yeah, you don't need a bathroom break or anything? We didn't do that. Maybe we should have.
I'm okay right now. If I
Alright.
keep drinking this, I might just like hold the mic by the door and I'll be like, yeah, and then this thing.
That might be a little bit too experimental for our,
That's fair.
for this platform.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's okay.
Later.
That's maybe like season 2.
Right.
We don't have seasons.
All from the bathroom.
All from the bathroom. That'd be a good like bathroom sessions.
Yeah.
It'd be very the acoustics. I
Right.
mean.
Well, then you'd have to like, it'd be sporadic because like I don't know how you could like plan. It would just be like you just be waiting around with the guest and they're like, I now.
What if I made a podcast where I hang out in like a public bathroom? And
Can you do that legally? Like, is that?
yeah, as long as there's no.
Is that not like a privacy issue? Like if you're interviewing somebody and then like someone else goes into the bathroom and they're just like, ugh!
Well, I don't know because I don't know. Because like, okay, a bathroom is considered a place where you can expect reasonable privacy in terms of like being filmed.
Right.
I don't know how that applies to audio.
Yeah, I don't know what the privacy rules are with audio. Well, and then there's...
What if... Go ahead.
I was gonna say, there are some places where it's like, if you need to be told that you're being, like, recorded and all that thing, I don't know how that
Right,
applies
California.
to, like, grunts.
Well, what if I were to hang out right outside a public restroom and interview people as they were walking out and be like...
If you could get people to talk to you
Tell
as they're
us.
leaving the bathroom...
If
I walked out, oh my god,
yeah.
if I walked out of a restroom and there was someone with a microphone there, I'd be like, well, let me tell you all about it. Like, that's so interesting.
Yeah, see?
Stay tuned for that podcast.
Stay tuned. We're getting experimental in 2022. So on the last episode that you were on, we talked a lot about sort of your background as an artist, some experiences you had in high school, throughout college. I'd love to talk a little bit about all the things you've been up to since then, because there's been quite a bit in the last 2 years.
Yeah, gosh, it's been 2 years.
Yeah, you
Lord.
graduated May 2020.
Yeah.
What a great time to earn a theater degree.
Right. What a great time to be being taught how the industry works, and then the industry completely changes forever. What a great...
Yeah.
Like, we were in together a, like, new play development, like, professional prep-ish kind of class. And I was like, great, this is the way it goes. And then... And, like, some of that still...
Not to say that I still think that class was very valuable. We love
absolutely.
you, Kenny. Hi, if
we
you're
love
listening.
you, Kenny.
But yeah, I mean, things are different now.
Yeah. I didn't know what a Zoom play was. Like, if I am...
Yeah, it didn't exist yet. I
No.
don't think.
But now if I see another Zoom play, I'm like,
Well, that's coming from the man who made a Zoom web series.
Right,
Essentially
right,
6 Zoom plays.
Right. Yeah. No. So I'm the authority on the
Yeah,
Zoom.
right.
No, I love Zoom plays.
Yeah.
I think they're great. It's just there was an abundance of them, and it got like,
Right.
But yeah. So I filmed an entire web series completely on Zoom, which was came out of the way that specifically took shape and what it was specifically about. I think I've said in other interviews, came out of like.
What's it called? What's the premise?
Oh, yes. Hey Professor is the name of the web series. It is 6 college artists of different disciplines working together to create some kind of a showcase over Zoom because all of their other projects got canceled due to COVID. And so now their professors, and there's specifically one professor who's kind of overseeing the whole thing, has forced them to all work together. And it's filmed entirely on Zoom. The scenes go back and forth between the actual Zoom meetings of the artists and video diaries that the characters kind of office style are sending back to the professor, hence the name Hey Professor, as they all are like having to report on the events. And there's other there's like a party, like a Zoom party, because we all did those. There's one character has like a YouTube channel, so you get YouTube videos. There's like self-tapes, all these different kinds of video formats that are sort of all combined and edited together. And I created the show and then co-wrote it with Rosie Tyler, who's an incredible artist who also directed Hey Professor. And then I played, his name was Max Barton. I played a somewhat more full of himself version of myself. I say sometimes
Only somewhat.
Yeah, I say sometimes he's the Max I'm afraid that I actually come across as. But it was, yeah, like I was kind of leading up towards, it came out of a lot of problems and like questions and like things needing to be solved, because I had just done a Zoom play as my final playwriting project for Marymount.
Capstone, so to speak.
Yeah.
They don't call it that, but that's what it is.
Yeah. And actually, I was gonna say, but all 3 of the actors from that play ended up playing characters in Hey Professor. Grace, Natalie, and Marco all ended up being in the show and are brilliant. But there was like 4 different plays or something that were in that project, and then we all had like a Zoom after party. And the director of my project and a Marymount professor, Brooke Haney, said to me, "Hey, I think you'd be really good at writing for TV." I was like, "Oh, I would be. I like TV." Huh. But then I kind of started playing it out in my brain. I'm like, okay, but I've like been going to school for playwriting. I have no idea how to break into TV. That sounds like it takes a lot of time. And I think Kenny, our playwriting professor, and who like through all 3 years and who's amazing and kind of is probably one of the reasons why I like dropped the musical theater major to pursue writing fully. He was like, I think he had said in one of our classes, trying to work in TV is kind of like a full-time job.
Yeah.
And I was like, just about to graduate, still wanting to be a playwright. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. I want to do it now. How do I do it now? It's like, oh, I could just film a web series. Okay. I can't leave my house.
Yeah.
And I can't leave my house. I don't know how to use film equipment. I don't know how to film a show. So to solve that problem, I was like, okay, well, it's got to be set on Zoom because that's how we're doing things anyway. And so I can't kind of solve that problem. And I was like, okay, no equipment thing. Well, we'll just hit record on Zoom. And then we'll find a great editor, which we did. Chloe Bowman was our editor, and they were amazing. And they'll edit all of that and make it look beautiful somehow. And then I had the problem of, okay, well, if you're in a Zoom meeting, you're not really getting, like, we wouldn't get any introspection of how the characters are actually feeling, because no one is giving their inner thoughts on a Zoom call. And so I was like, okay, well, then I kind of came up with the video diary thing through there. I feel like I'm, like, taking a really long time to explain this. But then I came up with the video diary thing through that. And then it just kind of snowballed into all these other concepts of, like, this character's YouTube channel, like, all these different things that I said before, into this really incredible experience. It was challenging, and it was, because none of us knew what we were doing. Like, we're filming this thing on Zoom. We're just hitting record. We, like, did it in different ways. Rosie had all these different, experimented with all these different ways of filming it. But through that, it kind of, I, like, kind of taught myself a little bit of how I wanted to write a show, if I was going to write a show. And since then, I'm, like, actively trying to write for TV. I've been, like, applying to different things for, like, different TV writing things.
You have a pilot?
I do. I have a pilot that I just had a fundraising event a couple weeks ago for. Pilot's called Imaginary Partners. It is a romantic comedy about the National Air Sex Competition. Which...
Say more.
Yes. Which I did realize kind of with that the way that this show works out is I kind of don't need a log line, because all I have to say is that it is about the National Air Sex Competition, and you can't just be like, cool, dude. Like, you have to be like, even if you hate it, you have to be like, what? But so the National Air Sex Competition is similar to air guitar, where people go up and just pretend to be playing music with a guitar. You go up and you pretend to have sex with an imaginary person or object to a song of your choice. And it was kind of popularized by, and like sort of like trademarked and created by a guy named Chris True, who's a stand-up comedian. And I just saw, I think it was a Watch Mojo video, one of like the top 10 weirdest competitions, and that was number 1. And I was like, oh my God. And so I ended up, I emailed Chris True and kind of through multiple conversations with him and like not knowing what to do with that. And a few years later, deciding wanting to do like, I initially wanted to make it a play, and then being like, that's not going to work. And kind of as I was starting to do TV things, I was like, oh.
Was it going to be a musical for a second, or did I
hallucinate There was a brief second where I was like, what if it was a musical? But every time I think that, I can never find like someone that I can like really like vibe with musically.
Yeah. Composers hit us up.
And I have a meeting with somebody. I think probably by the time this comes out, I will have met with them. A meeting with somebody to talk about possibly on Thursday about possibly writing music for my first Kiss project. So keep is it ears peeled, eyes peeled, ears, I don't know. Open? Yeah.
Alert.
Watch your social medias for that. But yeah, like it once again, it took several years for it to kind of manifest as what it needed to be, and now I'm working with Marymount alum Nancy Pop and Raina. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna Raina Razad. So sorry, Raina, if I got this name wrong. We can cut around.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. And I'm working with Nancy and Raina, who are gonna co-direct and are kind of like helping produce it. And just the whole process has been really exciting so far. And we're still very early on. Like, we just had a fundraising event for it. But very excited to kind of dive in and get started with that, because what I kind of started to discover through just going to the show and talking to Chris is that it's really about sex positivity and just like celebrating how people express themselves sexually and like in their sexuality and all these things. And I'm just like so about that and so about like, yeah, you do you and do it however way you want, as loud and as weird and as gross and as hilarious as you want to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be what the whole kind of core of the show is, just a big celebration.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this project.
Me too.
Anything else that we should be like on the lookout for in the world of Max Berry right now?
Well, my First Kiss project, which I pitch it on Monday, so we'll see how that goes.
I also have to pitch a project on
yes.
Monday. On the day before this comes out, we will have pitched.
Yes. So hopefully it went well.
No, the day this comes out, we pitch.
I might be pitching right now while you're listening to this.
Crazy.
But yeah, I've been super grateful. In addition to Hey Professor, one of the other thing that was kind of getting me through a lot of the pandemic was working with First Kiss. Just the connections and the like artistic opportunities and support. Like I wrote an interactive show for Zoom, which I never would have done had First Kiss not reached out to me. I have a wonderful collaboration that was fostered through First Kiss with these two other artists. And we're writing this. We went on like a retreat, the Fresh Ground Pepper retreat together, and are working on a really incredible play that I'm really excited for people to see, hopefully soon. And I'm not just in the literal these are the First Kiss events, but in the supportive environment and the people that they put you in the same room as are just cool people, and you end up just making a lot of cool things. And so very excited to continue making cool things with First Kiss and my project that you'll hear more about soon.
Well, thanks for the plug. We're at First Kiss Theater on Instagram. Max, we're almost out of time here for real now. But before we sign off for the night, I do have one final question for you. I'm dying to know, Max. Who's your artist crush?
I was thinking about this literally today, of like people.
Is it because you knew you were going to be on the podcast?
No, it's because I was listening to I think Rhett and Link just talked about this. Which
that was a good episode.
Yeah, so I was listening to that today and be like, who would I answer? Because I think it's not as much because similar to what they were saying on that podcast actually, it's not as much like, oh, this person specifically, this work and their stuff influenced me and I like followed them all the time. It's a lot of just, I think I value people who have done things themselves in their way and have done it just from doing things with their friends. Which, to speak of Rhett and Link, I think Rhett and Link are, especially now, huge like artist crushes of mine, just in how they are able to do things so authentically, and they've been talking through their podcasts about different ideas and like projects that they want to do that are outside of what they're known for, and they're just trying so many things and are so just like, here we are, this is what we're going to be, and we're not compromising. And also just genuinely nice people, and I think that's something like I kind of want to just continue being a kind human no matter what I do. So those are a couple, and then I would say probably another one. I'll keep it to two. I keep it like short and sweet because we had to split into two parts because I like to talk. Would be StarKid and Nick Lang and like the people that do the Very Power musical all the way up to all of the Hatchetfield shows like and like Black Friday and the Guardian like musicals, who I actually had the incredible opportunity to interview myself for I write for Encore Monthly Theater magazine, and so for that magazine I got the chance to interview Nick Lang, Jeff Blim, Dylan Saunders, Jamie Lynn Beatty, Mariah Rose Faith, like a bunch of people. And they're just, you hear Nick Lang specifically, who's like him with his brother Matt, wrote all of the shows except for Trail to Oregon, which Jeff Blim wrote. But all of the Star Kid shows, basically, and has directed most of them, if not all of them. And, again, group of people who kind of just were college friends and have made a career out of making things with their friends for a decade.
It's the dream.
Like, honestly, I was watching that at, like, 12, being like, I want to just do things with my friends.
Yeah.
Like, and that the friends who I want to do things with has changed over the last 10 years, but the sentiment of, I want to just make art with my friends forever has never changed. But, like, hearing, when I would interview everyone else, they would always talk about how just brilliant Nick is. And when you talk to him, first of all, again, just such a genuine human. Such a kind human. But he is just this, like, he's got so many ideas, and he's, like, coming out all these different angles, and, like, just the way his brain works, and, like, it's just truly incredible to kind of hear him talk. To where I was very nervous, and hopefully he could probably tell I was visibly nervous to talk to him, because I felt like you really feel like you're in the presence of someone who is just, maybe that was just me because I've been a fan of them for so long, but you feel like, oh man, this person just has so much to offer and to share. Yeah, so very grateful to have met one of my artist crushes, but yeah, I would say those are the two.
Yeah.
Just real people doing things with their friends.
Cool,
That's basically
cool
who I admire.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the dream.
Which is why First Kiss
and that's what we're doing.
I think is great.
And that's our episode. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, Max, for being here. Do you want to be followed on Instagram?
Yeah, follow me at Maximus of Barry.
Follow Max. Follow Max's dad, or maybe don't follow Max's
I mean,
dad.
if you find my dad's Instagram, I think is private.
I mean, don't go looking for Max's dad.
Right.
Don't do that.
I don't want to text my dad being like, Max, why did like...
We'll text him and ask, and maybe we can see if he wants.
Hi, Dad.
He wants
Thank you for
the shout out.
Putting up with this.
This episode has been brought to you by Max Berry's dad.
I mean, in a way, if you think by. Max Berry is brought to you by
Heather and Kevin Berry.
Heather and Kevin Berry, so therefore.
Alrighty, I promise you we've both each only had one drink.
I'm not even done really with mine.
Me either.
It's just a cider.
Alright, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you.